What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Tesla Talk Tuesday. We got some delicious cookies here, but we also got some fairly interesting news. I guess nothing too interesting because I don't think there's been a date yet for the Tesla truck, but very excited for that. Anyways, let's, I guess, just jump right into it. Hopefully this won't be too long. But as always, if you guys enjoyed the content, please consider liking and subscribing. But let's get into the news / updates for the week. So, first things first, big news. I don't know if I touched on this last week or not, but Top Gear, I did. Top Gear recently did a side-by-side review and drag race of the Taycan and the Tesla Model S. Supposedly, you know, this was the newest Model S, the Taycan. And the Taycan, they said, beat it every single time in a quarter-mile race. And their 0 to 60 times were very similar. However, Brooks from Drag Times, and then Elon Musk also agreed with him, did their own testing and found that, well, the slip, I guess the times that they posted, I think like 1/8 mile, quarter mile, 0 to 60 times, it was from an old drag strip slip. And Top Gear basically defended, saying that that was the best times that they had found from previous testing, but in all the tests that they did, the car ran slower. And the car, based on those times, I think Brooks said it was like 0.5 seconds slower. And if you watch the drag race in Top Gear, they're like neck and neck, like a car length apart at most. Whereas the times would suggest that they were roughly 5 car lengths apart, which Brooks does a great job demonstrating. Top Gear, I don't know where they're getting the numbers from, what they're testing, what cars they're testing. They're clearly not using launch mode. I think Brooks' video does a much better of this. Drag Times, I'll post a link in the bio if you want, in the description if you want to check it out. Very cool video, very interesting to see his analysis. So definitely check that out if you want to see that. But it is also very upsetting to see this because I've watched Top Gear for forever, and I used to go to them for, you know, seeing like which cars were better, listening to their analysis, and now looking at this, clearly they're not using any figures that were found from the testing for the filming of that video. They used testing from some other time. So if they're doing that, and then they're doing like different clips of drag racing that aren't even based on those numbers, how can you trust what they're saying? I mean, it's entertaining, but that's really all it is anymore. Like it's not a source of truth, and I feel like they kind of discredited themselves. So it's a little disappointing in that sense, but I guess from now on it's just kind of like watch Top Gear with a grain of salt and take it as interesting, but until you can actually test it yourself, it is pretty disappointing. But Brooks did testing in his Model S, which is older, and I guess he borrowed a friend's new Raven Model S, and without even doing launch control, got better times than what Top Gear said they couldn't even achieve. So it makes no sense, but either way, I'm very curious to see Brooks actually get hands on the Taycan and be able to do a side-by-side drag with that and the Tesla Model S Raven. I still think that this goes to the point that Elon Musk is pushing out a 50 horsepower bump as well as performance improvements to all Teslas in general. I'm hoping mine gets it, but I don't know if it will. Crossing my fingers here, but I don't know if it's going to happen. Supposedly it's supposed to come out in the next 2 weeks, so I'm going to keep my eyes out for that. But until then, I'm really just hoping. I'm really hoping here. Still haven't gotten some of the other updates. I was hoping to be able to like open my garage door home link, but that's clearly not in the app still, so I don't think I'm ever going to get that. Performance updates over the air is pretty awesome. They're pushing 50 horsepower to Tesla Model S's, at least top of the line performance ones. I don't know what the whole scaling is for other ones. I think some cars are getting like a 5% performance bump. So it is pretty neat that they can just do that over the air update, but yeah, it's disappointing to see that Top Gear kind of, their facts and figures just don't quite line up. Anyways, Unplugged Performance recently released some pictures of a Model 3 that got like a full aero kit. It's running like 305 wide tires in the back. It's got a wing on it, trunk mounted like spoiler, big wing. I think it has a wide body kit on it, diffuser, front lip, all that good stuff. It actually looks awesome. I think they're going to release some of these things to the public and pricing and all that stuff on it early 2020. So I don't believe that's out yet, at least not from what I read. So very curious to see how much that kit costs. I know that the Tesla Model S, like wide body kit and stuff, that costs, I think it starts at like $30,000. So I don't know if the Model 3 is going to be cheaper than that or if it's going to be around the same, because I believe it's all carbon fiber, but I will be curious to know, because that would be a cool kit to get this month. Like I mentioned, the Tesla truck should be released. I don't have a date on that yet, but definitely interested to see what the specs on that are going to look like, what pricing is going to start at, what the high end of pricing is going to be based on, sometimes if you want the performance models, it's the top price. So very curious to see all of that stuff, because I don't know if I'll like the Tesla truck or not. Elon Musk said some people are going to hate it, some people are going to love it. So if it looks cool, I don't know, it might be a compelling option, but at the same time, my Model S barely fits in the garage now, and that car is huge. So if the truck's bigger than that, it's not going to fit in my garage. I mean, I'm going to have to keep it outside, which isn't the end of the world, but not ideal. Anyways, on to the next one. Now, okay, I'm going to finish chewing real quick. Now, as some of you may or may not know, I do have my motorcycle license. I used to have a motorcycle. It was an Aprilia. But I sold it about, 3 years ago now-ish. But Energica, I don't know how to pronounce it, but they are a company that is apparently releasing they already have an electric motorcycle out. But at a recent motorcycle show, they have shown a motorcycle that gets 60% more battery, and I think has a range of 400 kilometers, which means 250 miles. That is a lot of range. You see, my motorcycle, my Aprilia, I think it got in like the 40 mile per gallons, and that's like the low end of what it got. That's getting on the throttle any chance you get, because obviously that's fun and that's what you want to do. That motorcycle got around 40 mpg. I think it was like a 3-gallon tank, so that's roughly 120 miles of range. If this motorcycle is getting 250 miles of range, that's about double, give or take. I don't know the efficiency, like if you're getting on the throttle, how much that wears it. But either way, 250 miles of range on a motorcycle is fantastic. Even motorcycles that get good gas mileage, they usually have smaller gas tanks. It's usually anywhere from like 100 to 150 miles, roughly. There's some adventure bikes, obviously, that have larger gas tanks, can go further. But 250 miles for an electric motorcycle is fantastic, because that means you can go out for a nice long ride, as if I was on my Aprilia, ride 120 miles somewhere and still have 120 miles to get back home without needing to charge. And that is key, because a lot of motorcycles right now, I don't think there's super fast charging options. I think the Harley Davidson Livewire was supposed to, but I guess there's a recall. I don't know, some issues with those, so I'd stay away from those. But it is very cool to see that these motorcycles are getting better and better range, bigger batteries, and they're fitting it into these motorcycles. So as battery technology gets better and better, batteries get smaller, energy density gets better, they can store more energy in smaller batteries, better range. So I'm waiting for those price points to come down, because a lot of these higher end electric bikes are around $30,000. Now, I have talked about the Model Y spottings that were in Michigan and maybe 1 or 2 other states. Apparently there's more Model Y spottings with some different wheels that are actually not available right now. So these wheels, they're probably up on the screen right now, have supposedly been seen, and I guess will probably be available with the Model Y. Who knows if they'll be available for other car models or not, but it is cool to see that Tesla's kind of constantly switching it up. And they've definitely paid attention in the past as to what people like, what they don't like. And I know a lot of people did not like the Model 3 caps that were on there, and basically everybody who took delivery of a Model 3 pulled those plastic caps off because they kind of look silly. The only time where they sort of make more sense is obviously longer highway drives, where I believe I read something where you get about 10% more efficiency with those caps on the wheels, which is very interesting, and it shows you how far aerodynamics can go as far as giving an electric car or even a gas car better range or better MPG. So SEMA is kicking off right now, and apparently there is a Mustang that is under a cover with a charger next to it. So people are trying to speculate as to whether or not it's going to be a plug-in hybrid, a fully electric Mustang, or something else. I don't know what else that would be, but it is cool to see these other car makers doing this. I'll be curious to know what it actually is. I don't know if it's actually like Ford's doing or if another company did it, because I know a lot of cars are like custom builds at SEMA. So it could be an aftermarket company putting batteries in a Mustang, making it a full EV. Either way, I'm always curious to see the stats, what kind of performance figures they're putting out, horsepower, torque figures, any of that stuff, because it is just pushing everybody forward in that industry. Just like when the Taycan came out with Porsche, Elon Musk immediately was like, we're sending some Model S's to the Nürburgring, we're going to do some lap times, we're pushing out 50 horsepower over-the-air updates, like all this stuff to compete. So the more competition in the space, I think that's better for everybody, especially Tesla owners, because you get these over-the-air updates. You get Elon Musk, who like immediately implements these things and wants to remain at like the top of the food chain as far as as far as electric cars go. So I think he's done an amazing job with this company. I think Teslas are fantastic. If you haven't driven one, I will say it again, go drive one. It's a different experience. It's a ton of fun though, and I think if anything, it's a nice like second car to have in your fleet if you're able to. I will say I do miss having a gasoline car every now and then. I've never actually owned a manual car, but they are a ton of fun to drive. So I get both sides, and there's a lot of people out there that like being able to do their own work, modifications, fix and tinker with their cars, which you can do a lot more modifications to, you know, a gasoline engine, supercharging, turbocharging, different type of clutches, all of that stuff. And well, you don't get quite as much of that with an electric car, but Unplugged Performance does sort of show you what you can do with an electric car as far as body kits, wheels, customizing the car in that sense, which a lot of people do as well. I mean, people bag their Teslas. My car is actually on-air suspension. Obviously, it doesn't drop as low as like a typical bagged car, but there is cool things to do, and it is cool to see that there are companies out there making these aftermarket parts. And well, I think that would be a very cool build to do in the future. So you know, depending on where price points come in at some of these like Model 3 kits, how expensive used Model 3 performances are in the future, that might be kind of cool to do. More to come. Anyways, quick update. I just looked up. Apparently at SEMA, Ford has announced, let me just read this straight from here. Ford reveals all-electric Mustang Lithium with 900 horsepower at SEMA. So, yeah, that is pretty sweet. So I guess it is an all-electric car. A lot of people thought it was going to be a plug-in hybrid, but it is an all-electric Ford Mustang. So this is actually pretty sweet. Yes, you can say 900 horsepower. I'm more curious in torque figures, and then obviously, you know, lap times or 0 to 60 times, anything like that. But this is actually very, very cool. Oh, here we go. 900 horsepower, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque. This power is delivered from an 800-volt battery system, a rarity among electric cars. Porsche is the only other manufacturer currently building a car with an 800-volt EV system. Let's see if we can find some range on here. Okay, so it seems like their press release did not give quarter mile times or anything like that, but with 900 horsepower, 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, I mean, it's got to be pretty quick. Probably still pretty fast, too, with 900 horsepower. Ford's concept could run the quarter mile in the mid-10s, so, I mean, this is going to be pretty sweet. This is interesting. Ford has given the prototype a drag strip proven manual 6-speed transmission. So having the ability to still shift a car gives people that driver input that a lot of people say like electric cars are numb, they're boring, there's no driver input, it's just quiet and no gears. This is almost the exact, I mean, it's still quiet, but the opposite in the sense that you get a 6-speed manual transmission. That is pretty neat. So I don't know when this car is ever going to come out, if it will, but that is awesome that Ford is doing this. And it seems like it will be a cool option. I wonder how well it will sell, but that is pretty neat, and will, I believe, help out with the top speed. So the Taycan has 2 gears, and that's why I think the trap speed in the quarter mile is a little bit higher than what the Tesla was testing at. So, you know, having multiple gears really helps with higher end speed. So that is one thing where the Tesla is sort of lacking, but again, like, how often are you taking your car 170, 180, 200 miles an hour? Probably next to never. So for the majority of people out there, it doesn't really matter, and I think that's where the Roadster comes in. If you want that top speed, if you want the best car, the Roadster is going to have that, and the Roadster is just going to crush all of the competition if it lives up to those specs. So very excited for that. Very excited for the truck to come out. Very excited for the Plaid drivetrain, and I think that's going to be it for this week. This is kind of cool that Ford has released this, but that is going to wrap up this Tesla Talk Tuesday. trying to keep it relatively quick and concise. But if you guys enjoyed the content, please consider liking and subscribing. And until next time, thanks for watching.